We all have memories from when we were young, but our next guest, Jason Marchi, turned these memories into children's books that are both educational and entertaining. Welcome to the show, Jason.
Thank
nice
you,
to have you here.
Thank you, Teresa. Nice
you're
to
from
meet you.
Connecticut.
That's correct, yes, native of Guilford.
All right, and let's talk about your book, The Legend of Habamak. Am I saying that correctly?
Correct, Habamak, yes. Habamak is a very, very interesting book because I was first inspired to write it probably when I was about 16 years old. I heard the first story of the Legend of Habamak, which is, as we all know, is probably...
Sleeping giant, right?
That's right, sleeping giant. Sleeping giant, which is an amazing landform that looks like a human being sleeping on his back. I was introduced to the mountain when I was 6 years old. My mother would be driving me to doctor's appointments up in Hamden, and she'd say, "There's the sleeping giant." And I was 6 years old. I was like, "What's the sleeping giant?"
But you really can make it out. I mean,
Very
you
much
can tell the face, the legs, the whole thing.
I still remember at 6. It looked like a real human being with a head and a body and legs. So 16, when I was a volunteer at Yale Peabody Museum, I learned about the story from a woman named Jean Hickey. She was the biology teacher at Wilbercross High School. So she told me of the legend as she knew it, stuck in my head, and it was 20 years later when I finally started to write it down.
So what's the storyline?
The storyline for the book is I tried to stay as true to the legend as we know it from the Algonquin Federation. Native American Quinnipiac descendant Iron Thunder Horse said he believed what the true legend was, and that stone giants used to roam around the earth. And in this case, our own stone giant, Habamak, a big giant, almost 2 miles tall, taught the Native Americans how to hunt and fish and care for the land. And he went away to teach others the same thing. When he came back, he found out that the Quinnipiacs had lost touch with that closeness to the land. So it's a little bit of a message in the book.
Sure.
So that's why Habamak became angry, and then he had to be put to sleep. So they did it by casting a spell on oysters, which is Habamak's favorite food, and he gobbled down the oysters and then ended up falling asleep. And
he's still sleeping.
Still sleeping.
Right?
He might wake up, who knows?
You never know. And Jason, the book is used as part of a curriculum in a lot of Connecticut schools.
That was a big surprise to me, yes. I really just wrote the book to have a fun time with it, and it's told from the perspective of a young boy in the book. And once school teachers and libraries got a hold of it, they realized it was exciting for kids, that kids enjoyed learning more about Native Americans by being introduced to this book, which was a nice surprise.
And you're also kind of giving back with the book also.
Yes, yes. In fact, I donate 50 cents from the sale of every copy to the Sleeping Giant Park Association. So at the end of the year, it's going to be $1,000 total that I'll have donated.
That's great. That's awesome. All right, let's talk a little bit about the growing sweater. This too is a true story.
Yes.
For the most part.
Yeah, for the most part. Yeah, I changed it a little bit. It's a true story about a sweater that my mother had knitted for my father before I was born. And every time she washed and dried it, it would continue to grow in size. So she told me that story probably about 30 years ago. And I was just starting to write professionally and looking to get published. And I said, I can turn that into a fun children's story. So A Growing Sweater is actually the first book that I wrote before the Habamak book.
And your book has gotten a couple of awards.
Yes.
Quite an honor, right?
Yeah, that was a surprise also. The Legend of Habamak received a Connecticut Press Club Award right after it came out. And then just most recently, I won a Mom's Choice Silver Award, which is also unexpected. So.
Well, for particularly children in this area, they're so familiar with Sleeping Giant, right?
Exactly.
So it's great to know the background of it.
When I give school talks, I'll ask the kids, how many of you ever walked or know about Sleeping Giant? You'll see at least half the hands
So
are
many,
go,
right?
Oh, so many are excited about it. And
very good. And Jason, do you have any upcoming events we can come see you?
yes, the biggest one is this Saturday at Foodworks in Cheshire, the Cheshire store. So I'll be reading The Legend of Habamak there and signing books. And then there's several other signings coming up. I've got so many I don't remember.
That's all right. We can find you on your website?
Yes, correct. They can just go to my website, which is jasonjmarchi.com.
Very good. And what's next for you? You have a couple more books in the works?
I do. I'm working on some young adult short stories. It'll be collected into some books. But I just gave 2 school talks at Tisco School and Sliney in Branford on the Habamak book, and the kids asked, like they do every time, am I going to write a sequel to Habamak? So I think I'm going to put that on the radar and write a new story and bringing it up to the arrival of the Colonials.
Very good. And where can we find your books?
Oh boy, it's all over, all the area
Just
bookstores.
about everywhere?
Yeah,
Good.
Barnes & Noble, and as well as online at Barnes & Noble or Amazon. Yeah.
Very nice. Well, Jason, thank you for being here.
Thank you, Teresa. Very nice.